All right, at 6 o'clock, I'm going to call the meeting to order. All board members are accounted for. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'd like to make one small little addition to the agenda. Right after the superintendent's report, we will do a brief MSBA summary. Any other additions, Jeff?
Nope.
With that, I would like a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Jody. And Joanna. Any other discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Scheduled presenters, we have no scheduled presenters tonight, so we will move into public input. Comments are welcome from students, residents of the district, taxpayers of the district, people with children in the district, and employees of the district, and must relate to the current agenda and not exceed 3 minutes. The board may or may not engage in a discussion during the comment period, but will take the information and find answers if that is appropriate. Due to data privacy concerns, a speaker may not address criticism toward an individual district employee during public input. Individual complaints should be handled privately with building administrators and/or the superintendent. As part of the board protocol, it is unacceptable for any speaker to slander or engage in character assassination at a public board meeting. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the board? Okay, go ahead. Please state your name at the beginning for your record.
Good evening. My name is Leanne Tesius, and I've lived in Cannon Falls for 20 years. I'm the parent of 3 children that attend Cannon Falls Elementary School. We stand before you today to address the agenda item of the approval of Ms. Shapi's resignation. But why is she resigning? Ms. Shapi has been with the district for 10 years. She has been a remarkable leader, loved by students, parents, and staff alike. Her commitment to our children, school staff, and her ability to foster a fun, safe, and positive environment are truly commendable. Her capacity to establish and nurture relationships has been foundational. This application for resignation is concerning to all of us, and we recommend the board to reject the approval. Our community deserves transparency. However, transparency has not been provided, which has left us to speculate on what has happened to cause her to choose resignation. The speculation being shared is this. During Christmas break, Ms. Shapi came to the elementary school to care for the reptiles in the school office, and she brought her children and their friends to the school where they played in the gym. Was she seen doing this by staff on campus at the time? Yes. Are there cameras on school property to provide actual evidence? Yes. Is this a correctable action? Yes. I urge the school board to think critically about all the information before you and to demand more clarity regarding the situation. Should an employee choose to revoke their resignation, the option could be to face termination. Termination requests are presented to the school board for review and approval. If the school board approves a termination, the district could be faced with arbitration, which would place a financial burden on the school district. In this specific situation of Ms. Shapi, I am asking if a termination request is submitted to the board for approval, you answer these following questions. During her tenure, has she ever come under scrutiny for blatantly abusing her privilege as the principal, displaying misconduct, or illegal behavior? Are her yearly reviews filled with negative comments, performance or child safety issues? Does the reason for termination involve drugs, alcohol, abuse, violence, money laundering, disregard for child safety, or anything else illegal? Does the reason completely disregard district policies and procedures? Are the allegations for termination so irrefutable as to put her career at jeopardy? If the answer is no to these questions, then what reason could be so significant as to warrant termination at the cost of taxpayers' dollars during a time where budget cuts are occurring and funding for our school has faced failed voter-approved referendums. The financial encumbrance for recruiting, orientating, and retaining a new employee during a time of financial crisis is frowned upon by the tax-paying citizens of our Cannon Falls community. This is fiscally irresponsible. Again, I repeat, this is a correctable action. We are all human and make mistakes in judgment. So put yourself in her shoes and ask, what harm occurred in letting some children play? In closing, I ask the school board, if you can't reject the resignation and you are requested to approve termination of Ms. Jennifer Shapee, please reject the termination and reinstate her position as an elementary school principal. Thank you for your time.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak to the board? Okay.
Dawn Manning, and just a couple of items from the agenda. First off, the legislative breakfast that you have planned for Friday. Just wondering if that's something that anybody can go to? Is that anybody? Because the presentations look awesome. Look like it'd be fun to go and watch.
Yeah, it's organized through the Southeast Service Co-op as part of superintendents and board members only at that time.
So only school board members and legislators there?
And superintendents.
And superintendents? Okay, so were all legislators invited to that, or just legislators from this area, or?
It's all of the legislators from Southeast Minnesota.
Okay. And then, just out of curiosity, I don't know if anybody else knows, but this breakfast, the presentation actually had a nice presentation on farm-to-school grants. I'm just wondering, has Cannon Falls ever received any or applied for any?
We've received a lot
Okay.
over the
good.
past
That's
couple
good
of
to
years, and
good to
we're
know.
working with local businesses for that.
All right. And then are those grants only available to public school districts, or are those grants also available to private schools or like homeschool co-ops? Anybody know?
Just
Public
public-
schools, as far as I know, only public schools.
Okay, all right. And then there was a nice presentation on funding of special ed programs. And I'm just wondering, like, when I look through the budget, you know, there's an IDEAS bill, you know, 15 and 30. Is that related to that Individuals with Disabilities Education Act? Is that what that bill comes from? Is that special education?
I believe
funds?
that's the funding.
That's for receive the funding from the state.
Yep.
So that is state
Funding
funding?
to the district.
Okay.
correct.
All right. And why does that vary from month to month?
It's meted out to the state that way.
Is it based on like number of school days in the period?
Generally, the general fund revenue that comes to the district. So it's essentially the funding that the state district will provide for public education.
Uh-huh.
You know, so they
So,
don't do it all
but-
equally. It's just meted out throughout the year. There are peaks and valleys. Sometimes it's higher or low depending on when the property taxes come in. We receive our tax payments from Purdue and Dakota County. Usually our IDEAS payments are reduced.
Okay.
So it's, we, as a district state meter, more or less equal.
Okay, all right. And then the other thing too was in relation to the committee members and the committee selection that was in your meeting minutes that are going to be approved from last meeting. The one thing, when you look at the district advisory on curriculum and technology, the description of that committee says work with staff and admin on curriculum, but Minnesota statutes actually suggest that at least two-thirds of that committee include parents and like general community members. Has that, you know, for one, that description probably should include community or parents instead of just staff and admin. But I'm wondering if that committee has any plans for recruiting people from the from the community to participate in that curriculum review. Is there anyone want to comment to that or not? I can submit it and you guys can send me something, I guess.
I know that we are actively always looking for new community members on a lot of our committees.
Okay. And then the next thing would be, the other thing for you would be when I was looking through the budget, there's like income that, like, it was miscellaneous, what was it, some kind of miscellaneous income, maybe? Let's see, it was monthly receipts. So there were monthly receipts that were listed for the end of February and for the end of March, which varied a little bit from, you know, one month to the other. But there was nothing listed for the end of January. Where are those monthly receipts coming from, or what's the source, and why was there nothing there for January?
There were in January. When the board report goes out, essentially January is done. It's really a cash flow, so it's kind of projecting what revenue we'll receive other than our state aids. So it could be lunch revenue now, but it could be credit receipts, grandkids revenue, preschool revenue, but other revenue that comes into the district. It's just kind of a planning mechanism. So when the board report goes out in January, most of that month has been done. So for my purposes for cash flow, I take that out to January. Those are dollars that have been received by the district, and they will show up in the bank direct when January is complete.
So is there a reason why that, again, why that varies from one month to another month?
Because there are different days in the month, there are different number of students that come to get kids each month, and variances in everything.
And then the last, there was like an outstanding expense listed?
Outstanding checks that aren't cash or cleared to the bank yet.
Okay. And then manuals. We spent a lot of money on manuals.
It's just the way for the checks that go out each Friday. It's a
Huh?
manual batch of checks. It's an old system, we used to batch our checks each week. It'd be called manual checks. So it's just the checks that go out each week. There could be for utilities, gas.
Oh, so it's not for like manuals?
No.
Because that's what it looks like.
Correct.
I'm like, wow. All right.
Don't worry, I asked that question probably twice when I first got on.
Okay. And then just another couple items about the committees. Finance committee, again.
Dawn, we're at 6 minutes, so
Okay.
try to wrap it up, please.
All right. So, that's fine.
If you have one more quick one, go ahead.
Okay, just finance committee. Again, will you be recruiting any discussions from the community? Because that's probably going to be pretty important to people here as to how
And we
you're
do
going
have
to.
We
community
did
members.
community representative.
Yep.
Okay, and then for the MSBA, maybe you'll have an update today, now that you added it. Are you going to be updating your Title IX policy to align with the recent decision from the U.S. Supreme Court? Thank you.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak to the board? All right. Go ahead.
Seth Johnson. In response to her about transparency, now is the time definitely for transparency with the amount of failures we've had lately with referendums and whatnot. And if we are talking about simply playing in the gym, I was told by Mr. Sampson that any school employee can enter the school at any time they want with who they want, as long as they enter the building with them. So if that's the case, where's the problem? Thank you.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak to the board? All right, then we will close public input. Consideration to approve the finance report. Josh?
Yep. I feel we've gone through most of it. Top part would be the cash flow balance. We're really kind of in a spot in here where things are very routine. The debt service payments have gone out. They are due this week, and they were sent out prior to this week. So they're be listing the outstanding parts of the checks. They've actually been cashed. So the only things that really to highlight in this part would be the bus lease. It's about a quarter of the way down. That bus was supposed to have been arrived before the school year started. With the way that things are going with manufacturing of buses, it gets delayed. We should have that in about a month or so, and that will start then the lease payment on that vehicle. And then about 2/3 of the way down the project 2022A reimbursement. We have been doing some cash flow through there to earn interest. And that's reimbursement on the parts of those projects that happened in the CTE HVAC project. And we had to do some withdrawal on that. So it had been a balance of about $1.5 million. We had to pull in some of those funds so that we could keep our cash flow going. Other than that, it's just the normal ins and outs of payroll and ideas payments coming into the district. If you have any questions, I can do my best to answer.
Does anyone have any questions for Josh? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the finance report.
I'll make a motion.
Rondi? Second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted under one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any item, it will be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Jeff, if you'd like to read off the donors to the district?
Yes. We received $3,000 from the VFW for girls soccer, $2,500 from the VFW for the dance team, $1,500 from the VFW for the high school student council, $40,000 from the Donald W. and M. Marilyn Anderson Foundation, directed by the Anderson family in memory of Susan A. Brudicelli. $1,500 goes to the softball program, with the remainder to be used to purchase new microscopes for both middle school and high school classes, as well as other science equipment, and will be used to fund the 8th grade STEM skateboard project in the future. $750 from Hernkeys Heating and Air for robotics, $100 from Red Wing Manufacturers for robotics, $3,500 from Alaveo Learning Center for robotics. We had Terry Rude drop off some clothes for the nurse's office. $1,808.14 from the Ed Foundation for 3rd through 5th grade book challenge for Ms. Schleep. $14,500 from the Ed Foundation for 4th grade Eagle Bluff for the 4th grade team. $661.98 for the Ed Foundation for 10th through 12th grade DNA Biotech Labs for Ms. Thompson, and $620.63 for the Ed Foundation for literature materials for 4th grade Mrs. Schleep. Thank you all for the generous donations as well.
If any of you don't want anything pulled out separate, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Jolyn on the motion, second. Pete? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Super report. Jeff?
Yep, I just got a few items up here for dates to be aware of. This coming Friday, as Dawn mentioned, we do have the legislative breakfast that board members, superintendents, and area legislators are invited to, that we are hosting this year. We are planning on an 8:10 arrival, and then we will have a breakfast highlighted by the Farm to School initiative that we have going on here, with some area business owner representatives coming in, and then we'll have presentations throughout the morning. We have invited our social studies classes to come in and visit, and especially our EP government classes, to see how to interact with local government officials. So hopefully all of you guys can make that. If you can't make it, please let me or I know, and we'll take your name off the list. For all board members, also on February 5th, we have the GCED board member orientation down at River Bluff, starting at 5 p.m. And this is a very good program to get you initiated into the partnership that we have with GCED and all the programs that we have available. On February 11th, four of us, 3 board members and myself will be attending the February 11th negotiations workshop in Rochester all day. Just a reminder of that. And then also one thing that wasn't on my report that I added late was March 18th is our career fair date that we've been hosting here for the past 2 or 3 years now. And so I would encourage you guys, if you can make it for that part of, or any part of the morning, to come in and check out the career fair in the field house.
What are the times on it?
Is that usually like a 9 to?
9 to about 1.
Yeah. And we'll have about roughly 12 to 1,400 kids come through here with quite a few schools from southeast Minnesota and about 100 vendors set up at those. And that's a good partnership thing that we have going on with the Southeast Service Co-op as well, that we are lucky to host. Other than that, unless you guys have questions, that's all I got.
Questions for Jeff? Okay. Then, yeah, we'll just have a little discussion on the MSBA. 2 weeks ago, all board members plus Jeff and Lori, we all attended MSBA up at the convention center. The newbies were really lucky. They got to be there Tuesday through Friday. And then the rest of us came up on Wednesday. Bunch of different workshops, get to learn and all sorts of different things and further educate yourselves on different things that we learned in the past. Also, my favorite part about it is the networking, meeting other superintendents and other school board members and discussing similar situations and figuring out how other schools handle them and vice versa. Jeff and Luke and I also assisted in a presentation with Ellers, our financial consultants. Jeff asked Luke and I to help participate with the expectation that thought maybe it was going to be 15 to 20 people, and it ended up being a little over 100 with standing room only. But I don't know if Jeff, you want to talk a little bit about that presentation at all?
Sure. Ellers Financial, our financial advisors, as Clinton mentioned, asked me if we would be interested in helping present up at the MSBA conference, and I jumped at the chance, and they asked if we had a couple of board members, and so I voluntold Luke and Clinton that they would take part in that process, and they readily agreed, I think, agreed to present at the very last session on Thursday, which you really don't see a whole lot of people sticking around for that last session, but like Clinton said, we had close to 100 people in our room listening to talk about school finances and how things work from property taxes all the way through the budgeting process. And so it was a good hour presentation, and we got a lot of positive feedback on that. So I was happy to help out with that presentation.
Why don't we start on this way? Jolene, you want to share anything about MSBA?
Yeah, like you said, I really enjoy, this is my third year going now, and meeting the other schools and the other superintendents, meeting with people who have worked with Jeff years down the road and stuff like that. I really enjoy getting to meet and talk to and stuff like that. But the couple breakout sessions that I really enjoyed that I went to, I usually always try to find one about up-to-date information on like school safety and stuff like that, because I really like going to those. They always have new tidbits and what other schools are doing and stuff like that. And the other one that I went to that I liked this year was how to utilize the community ed better in your community, right? Not necessarily just reaching out to really bring the community in. Like, how many classes do we offer nowadays in Cannon Falls that maybe appease to the adult crowd in Cannon Falls? We used to, maybe not so much anymore. And then utilizing it too for, is there a way to utilize it for maybe additional funding? So there was good ideas in that too, so I like that one.
Ronnie?
I, as Clinton stated, am a newbie, so I went to phase 1 and phase 2, which was great. A lot of information thrown at us, but just a good reminder that, you know, we're here as a board collectively, with the goals of the district and the students in mind. And that was phase 1. Phase 2 was all about school finance, which any of you guys know me, you know, I love that kind of stuff. So that was good to learn about the finance world of schools and stuff. Some of it I knew, some of it was new information to me. And then on Thursday there was a main speaker, Nikki Smith. I encourage you guys to look him up if you haven't heard about him. He was great. His main message was just to make sure that all students are seen, and I think we all agree with that, you know, we want all students to be seen. And then some of the breakout sessions I went to, again, were finance school that I did attend, Jeff's, and it was good. You know, it taught us a lot about school debt. You know, unfortunately, that's what we're facing right now. A lot of public schools are. We're not alone, so it's nice to hear from other school districts too, and know that we're not alone. And then I also went to a cell phone restriction breakout session. I know Jolene was there too, and it was really interesting. North Branch has instilled some policy to really restrict cell phones, and it was interesting to hear from, they had a panel of the principal as well as some students that talked about how that affected their school, and it was pretty strict, but everyone hopped on board, and it was really interesting. So yeah, it was interesting to hear from another school about cell phones, because we know that that's a problem in our school.
It was
Definitely.
impressive how much the kids supported it, actually.
Correct. Yep, I think it's because they just came in very strict at first, and then it just, yeah, it did get support because they realized that they were able to focus in class. So, yeah, it was very educational, definitely.
Thanks, Rondi. Jody?
I'm with Rondi too. I'm new, and so phase 1 and phase 2 were very beneficial but very overwhelming. There was a lot to take in, a lot of terminology, a lot of acronyms. So I will be going to that for reference a lot. Attended a couple different ones, and workshops, and capturing the kid's heart was one that really was a good one for me. It's like basically the culture and how music can set the tone when you're going into a classroom. You know, when you wake up, you have your wake-up music, or if you're, you know, getting ready for a sport, you have your music for that. So it was just different ways that we could model, you know, how we are, so then the kids will reflect on that.
Pete?
Yep, everyone, first time as well, so went to session 1 and 2. I realized how much of a powerhouse the MSBA group is. There's 421 new board members across the state that was attending that session, and then realizing the amount of tools and resources that the MSBA puts together for us and the community to leverage, and how they work with the Department of Education. That was something I came in learning of. Don, you alluded to one of the statutes, right? And how many statutes and policies are fundamentally there already, and then how do you interpret that as a educator, but also as a community member, right? And how do we get those resources, and how can we do a better job to, you know, accumulate all of those and then sell that back to the community. So mostly just learning all the resources and the tools that are available for the school board members and the community.
Yeah, for me, kind of like Clinton said, it's a lot about the networking and chatting with other board members and seeing how they deal with certain things. But one of the breakouts I went to that I thought was important, and I know we've been working on it here, is student reps on the board. We've had it in the past for years and years, and we haven't had one for a while now, and it was interesting to hear from them because the students were there that were doing it, and just their ability to learn how to put an agenda together and what a professional agenda looks like, and how you follow one of those in public speaking and in front of your community and, you know, the community. I thought that was, it's important to me that we have someone do that, and then to go up there and see the kids, to see how important it was to them and their experience. And then there's also, and I'm not sure if they've done this in the past, but there's grant or scholarships available for those students if they choose to be a part of that. So some schools did it, you had to be a student council member. Some schools, it doesn't matter. You apply and you get selected. So I think we need to get back to that, and hopefully we can do that soon.
All right, thank you all. All right, we'll move on to action items. There is no old business. New business, consideration to approve the baseball spring break trip to Florida, spring of 2026. Bucky?
Thanks for giving me a minute here tonight. I don't know how many of you have seen this. I sent it, but I don't know if it got to you, and that's fine. This is just to request a trip in 2026 during spring break. The purpose of the trip is to keep the baseball squad together during spring break, which has gotten challenging, and to be in favorable weather in March in Florida instead of Minnesota. It would be right during spring break, so no one would miss any school. Approximate cost when we went last time in 2024 was $30,000. I expect it to be about the same. If you take 20 players, that's $1,500 per player. That's how we did it last time. We did all the fundraising, parent group got together, we got donations, we did the fundraising, ended up being anywhere from $400 to $800 per kid that they paid at the end. And that was in a short period of time. So that was from September to March. This time we'll have 14 months to get ready. So that'll be much better. 3 or 4 coaches, location Florida, probably Jackie Robinson Training Complex, that's where we went last time. Had an awesome experience, so probably same place. Last time, many of the families, baseball families, made it a family trip. It couldn't have worked out better. They did their VRBOs and Airbnbs, and it made it a really good time for families to get away during spring break. I surveyed our parents back in June when the season ended about their thoughts for 2026, and it was overwhelmingly yes, pursue it, go. They'll lead the fundraising efforts again, and now we're getting some things that end up being annual fundraisers, like alumni concessions, chili feed for the Deck the Falls and so on. So I'm here to ask you permission to go because the State High School League says we can't go unless the board approves it. Any questions?
Do you have something in place for families that have a tough time affording this?
It wasn't a situation, but yeah, we can definitely make that work.
Sure.
Because we have other volunteers that help with fundraising, and they're willing to give their funds. They're not parents, like
Sure.
people like Wanda.
Yep.
They'll donate what they've earned to kids. So, it's already happened. Other questions?
It's amazing that you guys do it. It's awesome.
If you would have done it 20 years ago, that would have been even better.
That's what you said last time.
Any other questions for Buck?
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, then I would ask for a motion to approve the baseball spring break trip to Florida for the spring of 2026.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Luke on the motion, Jolene on the second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve a resignation. Jeff?
Yes, this is for Jennifer Shapee. We'd like to thank Jennifer for her time and efforts in the district over the years. I do recommend approval of the resignation.
All right. Jeff, how do we plan on going forward down at the elementary?
Stephen Strauss, I almost said Johnson, is currently as the elementary principal. We will be opening that position up here in the next probably month or so to put a permanent person in that role moving forward.
Is there any other questions for Jeff? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the resignation of Jennifer Shapee.
I'll make motion.
Jolene on the motion,
I'll second.
Luke on the second. Any other further discussion?
One thing, so when we have a resignation, does that person have the chance to pull that before the board approves it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
And then I'd also ask, with a resignation, does the board actually have to approve that?
According to MSBA, no.
Okay.
We actually got a letter on that, actually, the other day, as sent out to schools.
So this is just to be transparent with the community?
Yep. We've always done it this way, teaching staff and professionals, and have to have them as an agenda item.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. All right, next regular meeting will be on February 10th at 6 o'clock. anyone has anything that you would like to have added to the agenda, please speak to Jeff or Lori. Else, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Jody on the motion, Rondi on the second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries.